We need to fill this gap right here. Measure 8 inches. Cab to bed right there is what we're going to extend this so that it matches up down there. Also gives us a lot of benefits back here. As per the frame, we don't have to have a enormous workbench style bumper. So what I'm going to do now, so my plan of attack is I'm going to put this thing up right there, trace out, and cut a rib. I'm going to take it to sheet metal. We're going to make a piece that'll just mimic this. I have more confidence when I'm done with this than I do now, but I'm feeling like this is an easier-ish project. We just got to make sure that this crease lands up at that crease. How we're going to do that crease, just going to put it in the brick just a little bit, just so it can manipulate that one hard spot, and then if we got 2 ribs in here mimicking that, should be something we can kind of work with. That should do something. Hopefully something good. Yep, still got it. And there's more. Not too bad for a 1966 Dodge. D200 means it's a 2-wheel drive truck. Crew cab short bed. I ran the production numbers on this because I was kind of thinking these were slightly rare. But if you add up the 2-wheel drives, 4-wheel drive, long bed, short bed, V8 6-cylinder, it's around 30,000 of these things built in 66. That's a lot more than I actually thought, considering I've only seen maybe 5 of them personally in the flesh in my entire life. I've had this one for about a year now. Picked it up from a guy that his family had owned it for many years. Claimed it had a 383 big block in it. Personally, never saw that in the truck because at the time, he had done a 4-wheel drive chassis swap with a Cummins. So I bought it, did full circle. Did a chassis swap and put another Cummins in it. I'm going to show you guys the trial and error of trying to get this thing to fit on there just right, make sure the body lines are all perfect, and I'm going to brush up on the bed extensions that, well, no doubt that you guys are here to see because, well, our, frame, axle spacing, mixed with our chassis axle spacing wasn't quite as perfect as we had originally thought. I thought we were within 4 or 5 inches. Turns out we're 8 inches off. Well, I'll show you guys that here in a second. As far as these trucks go, it's kind of scarce to see them. But I don't feel bad at all starting to cut into this thing and swap everything from a 97 Dodge into it. 4-wheel drive, manual, transmission with Cummins. Checking all the boxes. Let me show you guys the custom fabrication I got going on. They call these Dodge Sweptline. Sure, it's I don't know, it's a mouthful. I don't like saying all of it. Get that nice body line, and then it starts to taper off, losing power, out of gas, pull up, missed the mountains, got lucky. Interesting little design on it, very, very obvious when you see it cruising down the road. You notice right here, and probably from the intro stuff, that I made these custom inserts so that I could push the bed back a little bit so that the wheel well looks good and it's not completely out of its location that it should be in. Went back and forth on a bunch of ideas, and I had already actually installed these, made them myself, and I'm pretty proud of how they turned out, you know, being my first time shaping metal. But when I asked you guys what I should do, I'd already put these on the truck. But putting a fuel tank in there, toolbox in there, saddlebag kind of a deal, have stacks sticking out, not bad ideas. I really thought about every one of those. But I landed on doing this because I want the truck to ultimately hold a good value when it's all done. I don't plan on selling it, but if I do, I want it to look good, have the good flow, and have it done right. I put a lot of work into the chassis before I put the cab and everything on, so it's ready to go. And I just want it to come out really nice. So there's an 8-inch gap right here, you know, end to end. And I put a 7 1/4 spacer in here, 20 gauge steel. This is, I just put in the brake, nice, simple. 2 ribs on it. That's my thigh right there. Little thigh work right here. Bend it, bend it, bend it. Then tack, 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 tack. I got to go back through and add about 60 miles of tacks on both sides. But at the end of the day, it got us where we want to be with the wheels here. Because if you look at a crew cab, long bed or short bed of these Dodges, they both look kind of goofy. The short bed's a little too short. Long bed is really long. It just, they don't quite look right. And I'm pretty stoked that it ended up coming down to this, because just adding that 7 inches gap right there makes this truck look sharp. And it also allowed me to put the axle where it really should be. Now, putting it in the center with math and measuring tape does not look good. That's what the factory did, and actually would put the axle forward about 2 inches. No, doesn't look good, especially if you're running some meets like this. You get to bobbing through a ditch, that tire is going to go right up into the fender. No good. You're going to look like an amateur, and your truck's going to be mangled up. So, put it where it should be, and it's aesthetically pleasing. This is one of those deals, throw the math out the window. This is visually where it needs to be. Squared up off the cab. I can't tell you how many hours I have just into putting the bed in the location where it needs to be so that it looks good. But another key thing that benefited off of that, push the bed back just right, and the frame does not stick out nearly as bad as it did, because it was sticking out about 4 inches from the place that I thought I could leave it, but now it's only sticking out maybe 1.5 inches on the bottom there. I could still put, you know, a Rennell rear bumper or something like that from a 2nd gen in there, I'm thinking, and should tie it together really well. Still hunting for a tailgate, but both sides, it just turned out sharp. Adding that little extension in there, this side's not the better side to look at because the door's laying over there. But I had to put a 3-inch body lift on this whole rig on average. The front one's custom, so I welded that one in place. But I got some blocks in the back going through some factory holes. And then up here, I was able to utilize the front bracket, and I got to put a support on it. But about 3 inches up, mainly had to go with the lift because it just ran into fitment issues. You know, they are separated, the chassis from the body, 30 years from their birth dates. So this one here, the fuel tank would have been in the back seat right here. Ain't there no more. We got it down here. Bubbles up for the fill neck. Hits one of the braces right there for the bed. Oh, right there we got the sending unit. Hits the next one. So we have to lift it up. Yeah, that's just how it went. Same thing with putting the cab on it. It was going to hit the fuel tank. Come up into here, some more fitment issues. Again, there is loads of time just calculating, trial and error, putting the floor lift jack on it, lift it, try that spot, go around and measure it. Every time I lifted it up on one corner to a spot that I thought was somewhat okay, you have to remeasure to square it off everywhere to see if that's actually going to work. Because everything came down to the fact that we're 1/2 inch away from the brake lines hitting the shutoff solenoid. The engine's not going to rattle enough to go over there and hit that. But all those little calculations came into play for something. This truck was not designed to have that truck inside of it. You know, as weird as that sounded, it was not prepared for what we're doing to it. This is complete violation of that poor 66. But what this thing's going to birth when we're done with it is going to be something I'm very looking much forward to it. I'm going to be really proud of it. But now, I didn't want to have the firewall touching the engine like the last guy did, so we put her back about what I thought was legitimate. Probably 1.25 inches from hitting right there at the top of the head. Not bad. Like, that's a good room to play with area right there. And I thought we were going to have more room up in the front because my buddy's got a crew cab Ford, 12 valve swap, radiator, and he still has a mechanical fan in it. That's best ideal. He's got a little bit more room, 1.5 inches maybe difference between the Ford and the Dodge. And I think a lot of it comes into play if I would have moved that back just a little bit. But then it puts everything I've done back here out the window. I'd have to start from scratch. And I definitely do not want to do that because we run into the issues of getting the radiators fit in there. This one's for the Charger, actually. I just wanted to see how big block one would fit in there. Hoses and everything are backwards, so this thing definitely wouldn't work. But 2-core, maybe. Let's check. We'll run the check on it. Oh, she's a 3-core. Big dog for the big block. So I want to see how that would fit because the 2nd gen one that I got here, with the radiator in there, I need 2.5 inches before it hits anything. And I got 1.5 inches. So I might have could have got that gap over there, but then I might have been running the firewall hitting that. So that's where we come into those issues, and we're going to have to start cutting up into the core support right here. There, I could gain 1 inch right there real quick, and or more, but I need this for the hood latch. That has to be there when we're all done. This is another one of those trial and error things. I got my blocks down here. Got 1 inch and 3/8 right there. Those are 1/2 inch blocks, one shaved down. That side's got 1.5 inches on it. But just going back and forth, put a block here, put a block there. Same thing like I said with the jack earlier, trying to get the cab where it needs to go. Check the body line, check the gap. This is where it should be, theoretically. You know, make sure it's trued up this way. Come over here, check it, check the line. Very time consuming, and I haven't filmed much of it because there's just hours of me circling this truck, measuring 55 times the same thing. And you know, you're measuring something, you got so many numbers in your head, you're writing it on the bed, trying to figure stuff out, trying to put a camera in play, just, oh, it would hurt your flow and you just wouldn't get nothing done. So I'll bring you guys along. I don't have a problem with that, but you know, when it comes down to putting this stuff together and putting the block here, putting the block there, it is slow, and I don't imagine you guys want to watch me just going, scratch my head, fall over, take a nap, get confused. But we'll make it fit. We will make it fit. We will have to run those electric fans, maybe only one fan. These 12 valves generally don't have too much trouble with staying cool unless you're really romping on them. But I'd like to be able to tow the Charger and the Challenger, maybe all three. I need a big trailer. But I just want to show you guys what we ended up doing there. More than likely when I post this video, I will be out of town. But this thing is coming together. I'll spend a quick minute just show you guys the inside. Might have missed some of these details on the last one. It is definitely a bummer that I didn't use a lot of the factory gauges and stuff like that. But check this out. I got a tachometer, I got a speedometer, I got a voltage monitor, I got a tempometer, oil pressure, fuel. That would be a lot of work to customize all those gauges into that other rig, and all that's there. The way it sits right now, I'll have the cruise control option at my fingertips. Climate control, heat, and air condition. Something that will be able to climate control this big cab. I'm thinking I'll put it right here where the shifter used to be. Got the squirrel cage. You guys saw that fit in there. That actually went in within a couple hours. That was one of the quicker processes. And shoot, this right here, I'm very proud of though. That, for, like I said, the first time shaping metal, I am thrilled with that. But anyway, guys, I've been at this trying to make this walk around video for a couple hours now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. It's not a lot of cutting and bucking trying to get stuff fitted in there, but I just wanted to elaborate on the slow process of putting this truck together. But at the same time, we are miles ahead of somebody that just took one of these trucks and converted the chassis to a 4-wheel drive without chassis swapping. and trying to get custom, you know, engine mounts, put in vintage heat and air and stuff like that inside, and just spending thousands and thousands and thousands. Because right now I just have the donor truck price and the price of this, and I have a complete running gear and another 12 valve with a built ATF purple trans as a bonus on the side. Like, this went together as perfect as it could, and so financially I'm not really drained on this huge project. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'd really appreciate it if you shared the channel and liked this video. We'll see you guys in the next one. Later.